What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to take a little bit of a look at the rise of the Red Skull expansion. Specifically, this is my review of Spider-Woman. Now, I did give you my overall review of the Rise of the Red Skull box yesterday, a couple of days ago, but I do not think in that video I was able to really give you a proper review of each of the heroes and scenarios, so that's what we're doing in this series of videos starting today. And we're starting with Spider-Woman because I love Spider-Woman. I have said in multiple videos that my favourite hero in Marvel Champions so far is Doctor Strange, and I love Doctor Strange. He is my go-to when I want to sit down and have a quick game of Marvel Champions in the evenings. I think Spider-Woman might have just beaten it. You see, if we start off with Jessica Drew, we got hand size of 6, which is standard, hit point of 11, which is about right, it's not particularly high or low, and a recovery of 3, which is about standard. But she's got a skill that lets you choose 2 aspects instead of 1 during deck building, though you must include an equal number of cards from those aspects in your deck. Now, the out-of-the-box deck, which is generally what we're looking at when we're doing these reviews, is bringing you aggression and justice. But essentially, aggression lets you do a bunch of damage and justice lets you remove a bunch of threat. So, what you've got here is a hero that can deal loads of damage or stop the villain actually winning the game. So either you're winning by doing damage or you're stopping the villain winning by removing threat, and that makes you incredibly versatile. But if there's someone else on your team that can deal a bunch of damage, you can go protection and justice. So you're keeping yourself alive and removing damage while also removing threat, etc. If you're a deck builder and you don't want to just play out the box, I don't believe there can be a better hero than this, because it gives you so many more options. There's also an action that lets you look at the top card of any deck, which is... it's all right. I mean, generally speaking, the top card of the encounter deck is going to be the boost card that the villain gets when attacking, because they'll place threat on the main scheme, then they'll attack or scheme getting the boost icon, so it's not going to be the encounter card. If you know something is going to happen to deal an encounter card, maybe you go to stage 2 of Taskmaster, then you can look at which encounter card would be dealt, and that'll give you a bit of information. I honestly found this less useful than I was expecting. A lot of the time I'd go, oh, they're getting this many boost icons, yay. Moving over into Spider-Woman, we've got a hand size of 5, which is standard for a hero, and we've got attack of 1, thwart of 1, defense of 1. Okay. But when you play an aspect card, Spider-Woman gets an extra thwart, attack, and defense until the end of the round, and there is a limit of once per aspect. So if I play 1 justice and 1 aggression card, I got 3 thwart, 3 attack, 3 defense. But the thing is that all of Spider-Woman's cards, as in the 15 Spider-Woman cards, are Spider-Woman and... no, they're not all, that's a lie. Many of them are Spider-Woman and an aspect. So, for instance, you might not have a protection deck, but Containment Immunity is a 2-cost event that heals 3 damage and gives you a tough status card. But it's also a protection card. So you can, in theory, get like 5 attack going with Spider-Woman. Realistically, I found that I would often have combat training in play. There are 2 copies of that in the deck. That will give you an extra attack. So now you're sitting in an attack of 2. And I found that I would regularly be able to play 2 aspects during my turn to give me an attack of 4. And I found that a lot I was able to get an attack of 4 rolling as Spider-Woman, or a thwart of 4, or a defense of 4, which is nuts. But also, Spider-Woman's got 3 cards, or 3 copies of Self-Propelled Glide, which is honestly probably my favourite card in the entire expansion. A 1-cost event, it's not an aspect card, whereby you ready Spider-Woman and she gains Aerial until the end of the round. Though Aerial wasn't terribly interesting to me, but readying her was. Because I would regularly attack or thwart for 4, and then ready Spider-Woman and do it all over again. It's absolutely ludicrous. Now, as you go through the campaign, you get the choice of adding these upgrade cards, and as Spider-Woman I would generally take basic attack upgrade that gave me an extra hit point and an extra attack, and it's a permanent setup card, so it's basically always in play. And then once I got combat training down, I'd have a natural attack of 3 before I started playing aspect cards and readying. Spider-Woman is an absolute beast when you start playing and getting a little bit deeper into the game. Even outside of the campaign where you're not taking the upgrades, as soon as you get combat training down, you should be able to swing for 4 attack or thwart, often twice in a single turn because of self-propelled glide. Absolutely nuts. And the other thing is that because of the whole dual aspect, Spider-Woman can basically do whatever you want. I mean, if we just look at the Spider-Woman cards generally, we've got Venom Blast, which deals 5 damage to an enemy as a 2-cost aggression event. Pheromones, which will stun and confuse an enemy as a 2-cost leadership event. And incidentally, right, 2-cost, you stun the villain, stay in hero mode, they lose their attack because they're stunned, then you flip into alter ego mode and they lose their scheme because they're confused, and that can literally buy you 2 turns in 1 card, which is nuts. We got Containment Immunity, a 2-cost protection event that heals free and gives a tough status card. Inconspicuous, a 1-cost event which is also Justice, that removes a total of 3 threats from among the schemes in play. So this is one of the few cards we've got in the game that will let you... I mean, firstly, it will let you beat a side scheme, but it will let you beat a side scheme while also making sure you're not overbeating it, i.e. if there's only 2 threat on there, you also take 1 off the main scheme. It's a little bit ridiculous. And then you've got the aforementioned self-propelled glide, which is nuts. There are a couple of other Spider-Woman specific cards. Jessica Drew's Apartment is a 1-cost support. Now, there's an alter ego action, and honestly, I found myself largely staying as Spider-Woman here because of the ridiculous potential. Although there were those turns, you know, where you thwart or attack, then you go to alter ego, and then the next turn you go back to hero, and then you do the thwarting and attacking. So you can make it work. And you get to exhaust Jessica Drew's Apartment, search the top 5 cards of your deck for an aspect card and add it to your hand, bearing in mind that a lot of Spider-Woman's cards also count as aspect cards. And then there was Finesse, a 2-cost upgrade that lets you exhaust Finesse to generate an any type resource for an aspect card, which is kind of nuts. Your signature ally here is Captain Marvel. Now, Captain Marvel I found expensive at a 4-cost, especially it's one of those allies where the cost is more than the hit points, which is usually a flag. And honestly, I just often found that I was playing so many cards, because I'm not just getting the card, I'm also boosting up my attack and thwart and defense, that I didn't always have enough resources to pay for Captain Marvel. But 2 thwart or attack with 1 consequential damage is really good, and when you do it, you get to draw a card. So Captain Marvel does end up paying for herself, but I often found, unless she came out early in the game, I ended up not playing her because there were just too many other things going on that I could take advantage of. Now, we do get aggression and justice cards here, but remember, these are just aggression and justice cards. They can be switched in and out, so we don't need to really focus too much on these. I mean, there are a couple of new ones that do bear mentioning. Obviously, combat training I've mentioned. I absolutely adore combat training. Spider-Woman is a 2-cost, 2-health ally, and the 2 attack with 1 damage is quite nice. But after you play her, you can stun and confuse a minion, really good against things like the Sleeper if Red Skull comes out, which sometimes will happen. And we've got things like Spider-Man over Injustice, which is a 5-cost ally, so again, I rarely played this because it just ended up being too expensive. And again, we've got 5-cost, 4 health, which I'm not loving. But after you play Spider-Man, you remove 3 threat from a side scheme, which again, especially against things like the Red Skull, who's got his own side scheme deck and a new one comes in every turn, can be pretty big. And a 2 thwart or attack with a 1 consequential damage is kind of nice. Again, this was more of an early game one if it ended up coming out. But I found the aggression suite. We've got things like Press the Advantage, a 1-cost event that deals 2 damage to an enemy, and you draw a card if they're already stunned or confused. Which isn't phenomenal, but it's a 1-cost event and it's an aggression, so that's nice and cheap. And then there were things like Skilled Investigator that was free, and it's a justice card, so again, you play it and it's boosting up Spider-Woman, and then after a side scheme is defeated, you exhaust it to draw a card. Clear the Area is a 1-cost event that lets you remove 2 threat from a scheme, but if it defeats a side scheme, you get to draw a card, or defeat any scheme, which is really cool. That one I did appreciate very much. And I like that there's lots of low-cost cards in Spider-Woman's deck, because that made it easier to really beef her up in hero mode. Now, in terms of her obligation card, you can either exhaust her to remove uncertain loyalties from the game, or place free threat on the main scheme to discard this obligation. And again, this is a very standard kind of obligation. A lot of the time you'll be able to exhaust her to remove it from the game, but if the main scheme is low on threat, taking free threat and discarding it, it's not the end of the world. Now, I did do a little preview of her Nemesis minion, the Viper, and in that I said that she didn't seem like the harshest Nemesis minion ever, and with quite a few games under my belt, I'm kind of inclined to agree with that. The Viper herself has 2 scheme, 2 attack, 5 health, so neither the scheme nor attack is backbreakingly high. And yes, when she's engaged with you, your hand size is reduced by 1, which is really annoying, but you're talking a 5 health minion, and there's nothing else going on. There's no toughness, no retaliate, no discard a card from your hand when you attack, nothing like that. And I've already said how easy it can be to beef up Spider-Woman's attack and all the aggression cards in the deck. I honestly found that when Viper came out, most turns I was able to just remove her. The Viper's Ambition is a side scheme that gives an extra encounter card, but it's 2 threat plus 1 per player. So if I'm playing solo, there's 3 threat, so again, it's a side scheme that I can take out pretty quickly. There's 2 Hydra regular, 1 scheme, 2 attack, 2 health, and it does have Incite 1, that new keyword skill that puts 1 threat on the main scheme when it comes out, which is kind of mean, but unless you're really close to losing the game, it's not that mean. Now, if you are close to losing the game and you're staying in hero mode, specifically because you don't want to see any threat going on the main scheme other than the 1 per turn, this can be harsh, but the stats on Hydra regular are very low. And then you've got the 1 Hail Hydra. Each Hydra minion engaged with a hero attacks that hero, and each hit player that was not attacked this way searches the encounter deck and discard pile for a Hydra minion, and puts it into play engaged with them. Honestly, the vast majority of the time when this came out, unless I was really struggling with threat on the main scheme, I'd go for Hydra regular just because of how easy it is to take them out once they hit the field. Overall, I think the Nemesis minion set is one of the least scary, and I think that Spider-Woman is one of the best characters in the game. Honestly, when I'm sitting down to play now, my main choice is going to be between Spider-Woman and Doctor Strange. I think she is a phenomenal hero, and I think she plays fantastically out of the box, lots of low-cost aspect cards, but I also think that the deck building going on here could just be so much fun. So there we go. I love Spider-Woman. But I'd like to know what you think. I'd like to know your experiences playing with her, and if you haven't played with her, I'd like to know what you think having seen this video. So go nuts in the comment section. But be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wossy. That's where we talk Marvel Champions and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, all that good stuff. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.